Thank you very much. One of the things we'd like to really make sure that you're aware of is that, yes, Washington County is a difficult county to work in. We work in many difficult counties as far as our clubs do. Remember that the issue here with the Serene Dreams was not did they give too much to a patient. They had a diversion program in place where you could not get more than 1 ounce at any one time per patient, so that we knew that that patient was using it for their own medicine. They weren't able to take it out of the store and use it to sell it to their buddies or make a business out of that. Remember that these people were card holders. They were not undercover agents. They were members of our community. Remember that there were no rules broken whatsoever as far as any kind of strange thing going on. This is an action by Washington County that can happen in anybody's place. And if they get away with what happened here at Serene Dreams, they're going to be doing it in Portland, they're going to be doing it in Salem, they're going to be doing it in Ontario, and they're going to be doing it at the coast. It will set precedent. We have an extremely strong system that goes out of our way to make sure that we make the patients safe, the community safe. We have a great operating system. We're going to be making that all available to the public because we want to share this with groups such as yours and others so that we can all work together to be stronger, safer. We are going to be pushing some rulemaking forward and getting some clarifications, and so we will ask for your help as we go forward. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Next I would like to call Shabed with the National Green Friends. Did you want to speak?
No, that's it.
That was a sign-in? Okay. In that case, we'll go on to Larry Lacey from Grants Pass.
Yeah, and I didn't come up to speak to anyone, but I did notice some things. I've got a club in Grants Pass, and actually I was busted for some guys that actually work for me. I started a club, and I actually make this card for people, it's a medical marijuana card. And when I was actually in jail, even though I didn't sell anyone in any of the clinics that I had, they gave me 23 felonies because I actually owned the club. And I had actually fired the guy that I caught making some stuff and doing some stuff I didn't like 2 weeks prior to that. But anyway, I asked the officer, who's actually funded by a grant from the government. That grant, I think, is probably promoted because, like you say, when you try to reduce the pharmaceuticals, you know how strong they are. You know, I mean, that's really the problem here. You know, when we say that we're going to cut down pain and the medicines and, you know, prescription drugs and big pharma, I mean, they have the strongest lobbyists. They have the lobbyists control the politicians. The politicians make the laws. They actually form the grants that they send. And if you go on RAID, the Rogue Area Drug Enforcement, you can see the bust that they're so proud of. I actually have an attorney who stepped in for 6 other people that were busted and stepped in and took over from their public defenders. Public defenders work with the police officers, they work with the judges, they work with the DA. The DA is the head, the lead guy in the Drug Enforcement Administration, or the enforcement, which I think is a conflict of interest, but they go in and they actually send memos to one another congratulating each other for coming in and doing whatever it took to convict people. I took in, Wednesday, I took in 3 new cases that I got the paperwork on the 9th, where cops came and busted a lady who's a school teacher in Williams, at Cave Junction. She has 3 sons that grow. They're trying to do it right. My doctor actually got them their cards. The sons saw the mom in trouble with some cops at her house. They were busting her. Nicest lady you ever want to meet. And I do actually have tons of sick people that come into my place. I actually run it by myself now because I can't trust anyone. I'm there every day. But this lady, sons, 3 of them came. The police officers there made them, ran their plates, saw that they were OMMP card holders, had them take them to their houses and busted them. When they busted them, they made them cut their plants, load them in their car, and take them back to their mom's house where they confiscate them. The cops are so out of control that, and they have 100% conviction rate in my county, Josephine, 100% conviction rate, because when you have the DA, the judges, I mean, the judges are so corrupt. When you have the people that are defending the people that get busted normally don't have the funds to actually hire an attorney, because attorneys knowingly use that. When I get a 23 felony, I've had 5 different attorneys pull out a plastic paper with a graph showing the felonies, and every time you have one, it multiplies, and pretty soon you have life imprisonment. I've never smoked pot. I've never smoked marijuana. I really have no desire to ever do it. I own strip clubs, bars. I never drank a beer. I don't drink alcohol. I don't need that. But the pot thing is just so unbelievable because I make a candy out of keef and sugar that I give to people. I had 3 people come in today that took it. One, an older man selling Christmas trees right in front of the church that moved in front of me. And I get along really good with the preacher. The Christmas tree guy come over and he said I'd like to get his card. He had 2 hips replaced and he has some knee problems. I gave him some of my candies, pure keef and candy that I've made for 2 years. He came back 30 minutes later and said he had a piece in his mouth he was still sucking on. He said, I can't feel anything on this hip. The one that I had replaced is subsided. And he was just so blown away. And I get people every day like that. When you say that people can only have 24 ounces, when I read the law, it says you can have 24 ounces plus 6 plants. So why do we continually say 24 ounces? When you read the law, it says you can have 6 plants plus 24 ounces. And I don't quite understand that. So I don't know why we keep saying that people can only have 24 ounces, when in fact they can have 24 ounces on them at one time and 6 plants. Well, if you can have 6 plants, where are they supposed to be? I don't know, are they cut? Are they in the ground? Are they drying? Or, what is that? Well, anyway, the big pharma, you know that they have lobbyists. You know that they control because it's a $1 trillion business. When you say you're going to cut down on the cost of medications and stuff, that's a $1 trillion business that you're cutting into. And they're not going to allow it. I don't think they're ever going to allow this thing to be legal simply because it's their money. It's their game. They control it. Now, I've done enough research to know that. When you actually get down to the fact that we have cards in Oregon, we have to look at the facts. And the facts are, in my particular case, I have this Ray group, this Ray Myers. He was just fined $75, slap on the wrist, because he went, and I think one of the attorneys here actually knows this and filed the case and got the charges brought against him. $75 because he went, while he was on duty, went to a radio station and spoke out against the program. He's told, I have 5 witnesses that he's told he's going to shut it down within 2 years. Now this is a guy who's, while we're paying him as citizens to protect us, he's not just enforcing the law, he's interpreting the law. This guy has a room set up. He comes in, takes your plants, cuts off what he thinks will be a decent-sized limb, takes it to his drying facility, dries it, and then makes a calculation as to how much you have. Then he destroys the balance. And then I've got paperwork that shows where as much as 2 weeks later, he gets his buddy in raid, the CASO, the DA, to actually give him the authority to destroy the medicine. 2 weeks after he's destroyed it in black and white. And I've got that on 6 different cases. I've gone to all the attorneys, this attorney, Lee Berger, Brian Michaels, I've had every one of them try and blackmail me with a different paperwork that shows how serious an issue you have. Anyway, I don't mean to get carried away, guys, and I apologize. These people are doing a great job. We need to support them in a big way. And I have money in my car right now. I'd love to pay them to come to Grants Pass, put on a program like this, and show people. I've got a following that's unbelievable, and I think we need to work really hard to get this done. There's so many, it's so crazy the way the cops are interpreting the laws that if we don't fight it, I mean, they're taking people, good people, and they're making them criminals. And that's criminal. It's not right. It's not right what they're doing to people.
Larry, what you've got going on there is...
This, you should show this. This is the way I do it. Now, your program is probably really good, but I spent big money for a card, and I put people's card number, expiration date, their Southern Oregon medical marijuana, everybody's in my club, and I have people come in, and if they have that card, I will actually give them medicine when they come in. It's my medicine. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
What?
You can pass this around, but this is the kind of thing that we need. We need people to belong to a club, which is perfect. Nobody can stop anyone from belonging to a club. Right. That's been going on forever. When you say things like, oh, we can't get, the lady up here says, you know that we can't get the politicians in the Oregon Constitution to abide by this or agree with this. Well, our Constitution's written on him, right?
Right.
Well, if George Washington was a big grower of hemp,
and it's written on it, and you're worried about the fact that we need to demand that they listen to us.
And that's what I was going to tell you, is what you have is an overreaching executive branch down there with this raid team. And you need to get every member that you have, all of your patients, calling your local representatives and having a fit about it and demanding that they check the power of the overreaching executive branch, because that's their job.
Right now I have a guy on payroll who's actually putting together all these cases, and we're showing how that the raid is overstepping their bounds. And we're going to march down, hundreds of people are going to march down to the courthouse, and we're going to go in and we're going to give it to Internal Affairs and demand that they do something about it. And at the same time, I think I'm going to put together about 5 or 10 lawsuits and file them the same day for people that are busted in Grants Pass.
I'm not sure.
We do see this kind of creeping across the state, and that's why we feel that this is an important meeting. We were out in Ontario for a town hall meeting out there. You may have heard of Elvie going through a situation where they took her patient medicine away, even though it was in a prescription jar with the federal government's control numbers on it, her name and ID on it and everything else. I was the driver of that vehicle, by the way. So I can tell you firsthand that he took that jar from her and he said, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with this. This is a phony. I'm keeping it." His boss didn't know what to do with it. But right before we were pulled over, there were 3 other people that were pulled over from that same place, right? And we knew we were probably going to be pulled over because they'd already called us and said, "Dude, they're out." They were sitting there waiting for people to pull out of this particular clinic. The other 3 people, unfortunately, 2 of them were patients with their cards who had their medicine confiscated by the state police because they were told by the feds that medical marijuana is illegal and they could rightly confiscate the patient's medicine. So that happens quite frequently out there. Another thing that happened is that a grower actually got a PCS, possession of a controlled substance, for having a toker in his truck from just dropping off his patient, and he had a grower's card. But he is now going to court this upcoming next month, and he's probably going to lose his CDL if he loses his case, and he'll lose his livelihood simply because of the judgment of a state police officer, even though he was completely in the right. So that's the kind of thing that's starting to go on here in Oregon. We see this creeping.
By the way, in that same stop, they also took my medicine, but I knew my rights and I demanded them, and I had my Oregon card with me, so they actually gave me mine back. But the police officer really grilled me to see if I knew what I was allowed to have, and if I hadn't known, he would have hauled me off.